Welcome to Get Kinked, Kinked Atlanta's new podcast. I am Madam Jess. I am the host, founder, and owner of Kinked Atlanta. And today on this episode, we will be talking about what prompted me to begin Kinked Atlanta and what our goals and hopes are for the future of this program. Hi everyone, I'm Madam Jess and I am recording here today for you guys from Atlanta Dungeon. This is the Kinked Atlanta podcast that I started recently to tell everyone and spread the word about kinky education in Atlanta, which is what Kinked Atlanta stands for. I wanted to take a few minutes to talk to everyone and sort of explain what we're doing for those of you who haven't been following or don't know. So Kinked Atlanta is an offshoot of an idea that I actually started formulating a couple of years ago. What I noticed was there was a real need for better education in the Atlanta kink and BDSM community. What was needed for the community was lacking, and instead of complaining and bitching and whining about how the events that were needed and wanted weren't happening, I decided that to lead by example and do the things that I saw needed to be done for the community. And so I started hosting a once a month educational event. It was sort of like a munch at first. We called it the Sunday service. Originally, I was hoping to pull in a lot more protocol and philosophical discussions on kink and BDSM, which I still hope to do now that the podcast is live. But what it has really turned into is more of a safety and technique discussion. We do a lot of demos, we do a lot of classes that focus on particular skill sets or fetishes within kink and BDSM. And that's the way it's kind of been going for the last year. Our very first introductory interest meeting occurred in December of 2022. By, I think it was April or May of 2023, we realized that we had really outgrown the space that Atlanta Dungeon had to offer. And so we made an effort to find a new location. Since then, Kinked Atlanta has continued to grow. It's been getting bigger and bigger and bigger, a little faster than what I had originally anticipated. If you think about it, I mean, this really began as an effort to, it was just a once a month educational. All I really wanted to do was have a good education class at least once a month. And, the need that the kink community has really propelled that just forward so much faster. And so now, instead of just a once a month educational event, Kinked Atlanta has become a once a month educational event, a handful of outreach events, some drop-in and pop-up classes here and there. We are now organizing the Atlanta Dungeon Sisterhood to sponsor Frolicon, for example. I'll be teaching at Frolicon and teaching at some other locations and events on behalf of Kinked Atlanta and Atlanta Dungeon. And so, like I said, it's really just taken off. At first, I started out with the idea of doing a 501c3. I really, full disclosure, full honesty, while this has indeed continued to get bigger, I have also continued to invest in it, which means that to date, there is no real profit. So this really has been a nonprofit educational endeavor that I undertook as, I saw it as a way to give back to the community, a service to the community, and fulfilling a need. So this wasn't started as an effort to make money or have a profit. So I wanted to do a nonprofit. I mean, the goal is the education, bringing people together and focusing on safety and connection between partners and that sort of thing. So, but like I said, with it getting bigger, we start running into more issues like what do we do if we do have a profit? What do we do about liability and insurance and making sure everyone stays safe, and on and on and on and on and on. There are a lot of legal considerations that have popped up because of the growth. So in order to make good on all of those things and try to do things as much as I can in the right way, I decided to LLC KinkEd Atlanta about 2 weeks ago. So that's really exciting. KinkEd Atlanta is now an LLC, which means that we do have some little bit of protections, but the money that is going into KinkEd Atlanta is still geared towards the education. That is still the goal. So when we do have any kind of profit to speak of, the goal is to put that towards bringing in some other presenters. We make sure we pay presenters. It has gone into funding for creating the LLC, for building a new website, for starting this podcast, and continuing to grow. So everything that's coming in is currently being reinvested. And hopefully that will bring quality presenters and quality education to the Atlanta community. So when you come to a KinkEd Atlanta class or a KinkEd Atlanta event, yes, I am usually the organizer of that. And again, my name's Madam Jess, but often I bring in other outside presenters. And what am I looking for in presenters for KinkEd Atlanta? So the presenters that come teach for me are generally people that have some kind of professional, tangible, verifiable credentials that are useful in making them a good educator or good presenter for BDSM and kink. Okay, so what does that mean? That means that when we do classes on pressure points or breath play, I have a martial artist who is teaching those classes. When we are teaching a class like BDSM and the law, we're going to bring in a lawyer. When we are teaching classes on hygiene and sanitation for the dungeon, sharps and needle play, that sort of thing, we are bringing in professional body piercers. We are bringing in medical professionals like nurses. We have actually made some really good friends who are EMTs and paramedics and that sort of thing. And those are the people that we're bringing in to teach. So when you come to a class, please know that you are going to get education from people who are qualified with many, many years of experience to come teach and educate you. We are not talking about people with no experience who took a class one time and think they can regurgitate it. We are talking about people with practical experience in a field adjacent to the kink and BDSM world. So that's just an important point that I want to make sure that everyone understands, where our presenters come from and how we decide who gets to present, and who we are looking to for the best, most reliable information, again, particularly when it comes to safety, because we want everybody to be safe, and that's a big part of this entire endeavor, is to make sure that everyone is having a good time, playing consensually, listening to their partners, connecting with their partners. That's the whole point, right? I mean, if you're not having fun, why are you doing this? So how can we do this in a fun, enjoyable way where we all get our jollies off but still keep each other safe? That is the purpose of KinkEd Atlanta. So this is our new podcast. I hope that you will follow. It's brand new. This is only the second episode that I've recorded. You can follow me on all the socials at My Madam Jess, Twitter, Instagram, FetLife. Find me, I'm there. And KinkEd Atlanta is now an LLC with its own website, its own FetLife page, and its own Instagram following. Instagram is still currently the most up-to-date method of finding out what's going on with KinkEd Atlanta. For the time being, that will probably be changing soon, but for now, the best place to find our classes and events is going to be on Instagram, KinkEd Atlanta. We look forward to seeing you at some events. Our next class coming up is on choking and breath play with Niho. We have many more coming up in the near future, but that's the next one on February 3rd. That one will be held at Metropolitan Studios. Thanks so much for listening to our podcast today. Again, I am Madam Jess, and this is Get Kinked. Stay kinky, pervs.